What do you want? I'm in the middle of a podcast. Leave me alone.
This guy who really is, I think, a bad guy. Russell, I think you are a bad guy.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what the truth.
I don't want him knowing where I live.
You can hate Russell, but one thing you cannot take from Russell is his ability to play that game.
I ain't finished playing just yet.
Welcome to the Russell Hantz Show. I have an amazing guest, the Dragon Slayer. Dragon Slayer. King. Slayer. All right, man. What are you thinking about this season? You watched this second episode here? You watched it? Is that you sleeping?
I'm in Snoozeville, man. I'm in Snoozeville on this one. It's hard, man. It's hard for me to get motivated about this season.
It's, I was hoping for the best. I was. But immediately, this episode, all of a sudden you have some bald-headed, stocky guy take off running, looking for idols without clues. Like, are they never going to get enough of that, man? The same old shit.
Probably. It's very typecasted right now, and it's very predictable. And I don't know. They got to do something new. They got to mix it up because it's getting very mundane.
I mean, they have to be able to find a good cast. I mean, they can find. It's hard to find Russells and coaches and Robs and even Sandras. It's those people are hard to find. I get it, but. It seems like just they have a bunch of duds. Now, this is only the second episode, and I am hoping for the best. But this is the second episode, and it's just, man, it was hard to... It was almost like I was watching the first episode. I get that the first episode, most of the time, they're boring because you're introducing everybody and getting to know everybody. The second episode, I felt like I was in the same zone. Like, I can't wait till this is over so I can get to the third episode.
Yeah. I wonder, the premiere was only an hour long.
Right.
So is that because that's what CBS gave them, or is that because they didn't have enough content to fill an hour and a half? Because usually if it's an hour and a half, you get that little extra time to connect with the cast.
Right. Or is that because they lost so much ratings by calling something Game Changers when it wasn't, that now that CBS can afford to put a show in that slot that another show has the same numbers?
Maybe.
I mean, it could be that too. Could be because all of a sudden, a lot of things changed. Now all of a sudden it's not, 2 hours, the beginning of the episode. Also, they don't have a fan favorite anymore. I mean, that must mean Sprint dropped them,
Yeah, no,
so
all that stuff adds up. I think also, we got to, the great characters will organically emerge. And if there aren't any, then that's okay. But we can't create big characters and have that be the focus. And I feel like that's what's happening.
Do you think that they're trying to create big characters? Because again, you're right, they're cast. Because we see Ryan. Ryan looks just like Cochran, or he's the equivalent of Cochran. You have Joe, equivalent of me and what's his name? And then you have the Joes and the Malcolms, the Vaughn and Cole. So you have those people. You look at the cast and you see other cast members in this cast.
Yeah, right.
So just because they look like... Go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Sorry, yeah.
Just because they look like it or doesn't mean... Okay, you get the Joe. Joe goes out there. They think he's going to be a dynamic character because he's aggressive, he's bald-headed, he's stocky. He reminds them maybe of Tony or me. Then all of a sudden, he just takes off looking for idols without clues. And it's just not exciting. When I'm watching them do it, I'm like, it's not exciting. People used to be on the edge of their seat watching these shows, and they're just not anymore, and that's why they're losing ratings. And I don't want it to end. I do podcasts on the show now. I want it to last forever. But
Yeah.
if they keep this up, man, it's not going to last till 40.
I hope that the sex therapist, that guy doctor,
Right?
and the bellhop, I hope that they can save the season. And you never know. I mean, I will say that the last couple of seasons, I have not. It's been less engaging, but at least there were some great runs down the home stretch. Maybe not last season, but 2 seasons ago, 3 seasons ago. I mean, you can say what you want for Game Changers, but it did have real hot
It wasn't
finish.
right. No, it wasn't straight up boring. I just think that people got pissed off that they tried to name a season when people didn't even know who they were coming in. Like, you try to do something and say Game Changers, and everybody's like, "What? Who do they think they're fooling?"
Right.
Because this isn't.
Yeah, I mean, half the rap scuttle in the beginning of the season, for halfway through the season, people were trying to, say why and how. It's the same as on Heroes and Villains, although it was much less, but there were questions raised in the very beginning. Well, why
Really?
is this person even out there?
That question's probably has to be erased.
But only a little bit. Only
Right.
a little bit. On this one, on the Game Changers, it was focused for at least half the season.
Right. No, yeah, Game Changers got to where it was more interesting to watch, and I wouldn't say it's a dud of a season, and I'm hoping that something happens on this season but I'm looking at the characters like you just named, Ryan the bellhop and Mike. Is it Mike? The sex doctor. So if this season is leaning on them two, they're in trouble.
Well, hopefully, hopefully they have a great arc as characters. That's what we can hope for, right? And maybe,
Yeah, but what are you seeing though? I'm hoping for that. But I'm seeing Joe maybe with a bigger personality. But I can't see it happening, man. They all of a sudden they have showmance is about to happen. That's all they're showing. They're wasting space with us watching another guy say, "Oh, she's just such a cutie. I could see myself with her." Like, come on, let's play the game of Survivor. Like this episode, they had 2 different showmances that or power couples, if you may, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But they, it's like they draw it out. We don't care. We want the game to start. At least Joe went running around looking for idols and actually found something on a tree, which is 1,000 trees in that area. I don't know how he magnified straight to that tree.
Right.
But he did.
What about the former NFL player?
Yeah. Oh no, he's a personality. He could go a little crazy. He could be a Phillip. He could end up by being some Phillip type player. And they probably cast him.
Everybody needs a little bit more Phillip in their life.
That's for damn sure. It would make her life a hell of a lot more interesting. And then we have Lauren. You know what she reminds me of? The lunch lady. Remember the lunch lady?
Oh yeah.
And Devin reminds me of Shannon Wilkins from he was out first.
Right.
So it's like, man, Alan must be the Phillip.
Where's this being filmed
Jessica,
anyway?
Andrea.
I couldn't even guess where's this filmed.
I don't even know. Let me see if I can see. I don't even know where it's filmed. I don't know where they're at. I have no clue. They know. I'm sure the fans are upset that we don't know. But who cares anymore? That's another thing. Yeah. They do the same seasons over and over.
I think that that's part of it. Listen, I think that they need to go back to the basics, because I get it. Jeff Probst didn't really want to be out in the jungles, and they were sick of roughing it when they roughed it in Brazil and Tocantins.
China.
They literally were like, "Yeah, we're done with this." But actually, I think that's hurt them, because if you think about China, and if you think about Gabon, and if you think about Tocantins, it's great to be in the Caribbean, but not every single season, because it gets boring. And
Same
actually,
thing.
when it was China, people, they did that little bit of history, and they did one of the seasons they started in the temple, and people, I guarantee you, people were like, "Well, where's Gabon? What's this all about?" And they had elephants, and they had different things. Listen, I don't buy it when the producers put a snake on the shelter and then they film it, and then they go and take the snake and put it back in a cage somewhere. Like, nobody buys any of that anymore.
Right.
So
it's like, oh, that snake's on their shelter.
We really need to go back to the exotic locations, because that's going to, at least then you'll be like, oh, yeah, it's filmed here, and what's the history of that country, and what's a little bit of that culture that they can incorporate into Survivor.
What was that season when, I think it was Gabon, where they actually had an elephant that was eating off of a tree or somewhat across the river from them?
That was great. That was great.
You ain't going to get that kind of, put the elephant on the shelter. I mean, elephant. You can put the elephant on the shelter and fall in. But the snake thing, they put the snake on the shelter, and then, they take it off and bring it back to its owner, whoever let them bury it. So it's not... when they had stuff like that elephant in Africa, when they did the African thing, I remember watching Survivor Africa and thinking, man, I wonder if they're surrounded by military with guns just to keep the show safe. Right. But they don't. Yep. So, it's that little bit of danger, it's intriguing a little bit. And it's like, and we want to see it. We want to be like, we want to know that. We don't want them in trouble, but we don't want to know. We want them to think that they can get in trouble with a lion walking by the camp. We don't want nobody to get eaten by a lion, but we don't mind watching it walk by the camp.
Yeah, exactly.
And now you go back and forth to Samoa, and hey, it rains a lot over there, but it's beautiful. Yeah, it's paradise. And back and forth to Fiji. You know what? I think they're in Fiji. Yeah. But you know why they do that, Coach? The reason they do that is to save money, because they already built.
I get that, but I totally get that. But they got to go back to back in exotic locales.
What would you
recommend?
Making
enough money. They can go back. They're making enough money. They can go back and do what they used to do. They're going to have to recapture some of that magic. Let's get Exile back. Let's go, straight Survivor.
Yep.
And go to an exotic location. Forget about the big characters. Casting needs to be sharper. They need to stop. You and I came up by accident. Boston Rob came up by accident.
Yep.
They knew they had, somebody different and unique. Philip came as a copy of me. Tony came as a copy of you.
Yep.
But we came out organically. And so certainly in casting, they can find people like that are originals, that are not necessarily somebody else, that's already played the game. They always want to have a James out there. They haven't, fortunately, tried to duplicate Rupert. Or maybe they
crazy.
have, and we just have missed
We're missing it.
But that's not what Survivor's all about. If you're going to duplicate somebody, you might as well have the original out there.
Right. And nobody wants to see us over and over and over. I get that too.
Right.
But just think, if this wasn't a named season and all of a sudden they said, we are going back to our roots, Survivor, whatever, whatever they choose, but something different. And Exile Island is back. And, let's say they never went to China, and then all of a sudden it was like, we're going to China, Survivor China. People would be like, oh, yes, we're going back to the roots, going back to old school type Survivor playing.
Yeah.
In places where I remember I talked to James about Survivor China, and he was like, man, it was terrible. Terrible living, wasn't beautiful, wasn't nothing. And I asked production one time, I said, when are you going to do like a Survivor Antarctica? Matter of fact, I asked CBS production, and they said, it's all about TNA, right?
Yeah.
And we can't do that if everybody's code and all covered up. I don't think it's all about TNA. I think that people want to see the game. That's why the first Survivors were so popular. They wasn't all walking around, except for Richard Hatch, walking around with the butts hanging out and stuff like they do nowadays. They were just playing the game. And, and people loved it. It was straight strategic play. Nowadays, they take off running, looking for items without clue, and I do take responsibility for that. I apologize to you guys. We got to see that same shit over and over. But it's getting old, man. They can't do the same thing over and over and think that it's going to be a success.
Yep, I agree.
I'm not digging it at all.
So what's going to happen with this season? What's going to happen with Ginger? Is he going to stay in there?
I like Patrick the best so far. You know why? Because he's upbeat. He's funny. I thought it was fun. I didn't see any. If they want some aggravating stuff, then put people like Philip, in there with you. Then you'll get aggravated. I don't see how they're. Lauren keeps saying, is it Lauren? Yeah, Lauren keeps saying that Patrick aggravates her, and she wants him gone. So I'm thinking to myself, why? Because he's funny and he's wants to make people laugh, and because to me he doesn't have that kind of attitude that you would not like someone. He seems like I think that she just feels threatened by his personality because his personality is likable, and she just doesn't like that. Because obviously, she even said that she's not a social type player. She said that I go fishing. I'm by myself when I go fishing. Well, that shows you right there. If she can't deal with people like Patrick, she sure the hell ain't gonna be able to deal with people like Joe or Alan. Yep. So I don't know if I don't know if she's gonna make it forward because of that. Do you like the redhead? Did you think he was aggravating?
No, I thought that he was funny. I mean, they can cut it together any way they want to make it seem a certain way. But I thought he was funny and charming, and maybe he gets a little bit over the top when you're out there and you're not sleeping. And,
would you say it's like Sugar, kind of like Sugar aggravating?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I would say that he's not. He's as far as Sugar is from night and day. Right. I think that he's probably just his personality is accentuated because of lack of sleep and the way that they're editing it. But he didn't bother me at all. I thought it was a bright spot in the episode, and I think that the fisherman's boring as all get out.
Yes.
So if she has a problem with him, well, good riddance to you. Let's focus on somebody else. Yeah. I don't think that storyline is going to go anywhere.
No.
And it's just
because usually when they're aggravating, that we can tell it's people like Debbie or Philip, to where we're like, man, they aggravate me. We're on the other side of the TV being aggravated herself, Yeah. And to me, Lauren is the one that aggravates me. Now, I liked her at the beginning, but now I'm like, what? She can't have fun out there? She says herself that she's a boring person.
Mm-hmm. What about the financial analyst?
Oh, I hate that.
Funny,
you know what,
man? Names, but I understand their jobs.
No, you know what? Let's see. What was her name? Her name was Chrissy. Yeah, Chrissy. I wanted gone right off the bat, and I all of a sudden see them aligning the cowboy and Chrissy, and the way they doing right now. I see them two going forward because I know production and I see how it works. I wanted Chrissy out first, but she's actually started playing the game a little bit because she's a hustler when it comes to she's a hero, right? She's a hero on the tribe, but to me she's a hustler because she's the one that takes your money, Coach. She's a financial analyst. She's the one that says she can fix your credit, and she's the one that you have to pay $2,000 a month to fix something that she thinks she's better at than you. And then she takes your money, then all of a sudden your credit's still not fixed. You still suck.
Right.
So to me, she's that banker. She's that banker that you... Oh, wait, I'll tell you. But she's that banker that you go get a loan from because you're losing your house because some reason. Right. And then she's the one that says no. And they have her as a hero. I didn't like that from the get-go, and I don't like her. I hope she goes, but I think she's going to go for her because I'm watching how they editing her. Now, I like Desi, and I didn't know she was a former Miss, I think it was Miss Virginia or something. I want to get it right. Cause,
Right.
Because Miss, what was it? Miss Virginia. So she was a Miss Virginia, and I've done pageants. Now, a lot of people say they make fun of the pageant world and this and miss that. Dude, those girls, especially in the America system, they are talented. They're extremely smart. I judged a pageant, and they have to go before the judge, and you have to pick out of all these girls how they speak, and how smart they are. You can tell. So Desi's a lot smarter than these people probably put her out to be when she said she was a pageant girl. And I think that she is going to go very far. I can't see how they're going to be like, oh, let's get rid of Desi. They ain't even hardly showing her. All they did this episode is introduce that she was a pageant girl, and then she's on Tony's tribe. Tony thinks he's a pageant guy. Who do you like, Coach? Who's your favorite?
I actually really like the sex therapist and the bellhop. I said that at the beginning. Not only as characters, but I also like, they have a good brain, I think, for the game. And so I was pleasantly surprised because I thought that both of them were going to be big targets early on in their tribe, and they're not even being talked about. They seem to maneuver themselves into a pretty decent spot.
Right. If
I like the Army guy or the Marine,
the
veteran, the bearded guy. What's his name?
That was the cowboy. What was his name? Ben.
Oh, his name is Ben?
Yeah,
I mean,
Ben.
he's great. I mean, they've had a bunch like him. I like him. Of course you like him. Everybody's going to like him.
Oh, yeah. I like Ben. I like his attitude. I like his personality. I like how he's playing the game. I think that Ryan is the smartest out there. By far.
And which one is that?
Ryan is the bellhop.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, he's with it, man. He's savvy.
Yeah, I think he's the smartest, and I think he's easily can take control of this game because I think that he has studied the game. I see a lot out there, like Alan. Man, the first episode, Alan was making John take off his clothes.
Yeah.
What was up with that? For looking for idols, make him take off his clothes and bounce around.
That was the funniest moment of the first episode. The funniest moment in yesterday's episode. You need to go back and watch it because I actually rewound it 3 times. When the girl that got voted off dove into the water after the challenge, it was the greatest.
What do you mean when she dove in the water?
It was hilarious. The girl that just got voted off.
Do you know she was an Olympic swimmer?
No.
Yep, she's an Olympian. She is an Olympic swimmer.
Well, why didn't? That's crazy.
You mean the way she dove in the water?
Yep.
I gotta go back and look at that now. Was it? What was it? Just a funny look?
No, it was like professional.
Oh, so you seen it immediately?
It was like the greatest swan dive. Yeah, no, it was like a great swan dive. I'm like, what is the deal? Why are they voting this one out?
Look, that's funny you say that because she was. Did you know she was an Olympic swimmer?
I did not. Nope. I didn't.
And that's we'll go back to the first episode a little bit and talk about it. Dude, I didn't get that move voting her out because they all knew. What I'm hearing is they all knew she was an Olympic swimmer. What is it? 75% of your challenges are going to be in the water, just like it just was. They almost lost that challenge just now because, and they had an Olympic swimmer they just voted out. I could guarantee you that girl can hold her breath for 4 minutes. Guarantee it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I guarantee it. And that challenge was going down and getting the puzzles and, underwater, doing their thing and bringing the puzzles out, and then they had to go stack it on and start the puzzle. But they had to go on the water first. And I guarantee she can hold her breath for 4 minutes.
Yeah,
and
the first vote is sometimes the obvious, but there's a few times where there's just no rhyme or reason.
And if you have what do they have? 6 people on their tribes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. So, you vote out 1, you only got 5. Your number is coming up pretty soon, buddy. So you better win until the merge comes.
Yep.
So you want to keep that tribe strong. That's why I knew Patrick wasn't going to be the one going home. I knew it because. Yeah, we're going to see editing. You're going to see that. where everybody looks like they're wishy-washy and don't know who to vote for, but I guarantee you everybody was going to vote for Patrick. That's why it was 100% Patrick. They all voted for whoever, the girl, Simone, to go home.
Yep.
And, you know, in a game of 6 people, and, you know, when you lose and you know you need to stay strong to win, you're going to keep your greatest players in. That's why when they got rid of, I think it's Katrina. They got rid of Katrina. I was shocked. I really was. I thought they were going to get rid of Chrissy, which it would have been a great move. And you know what? Ryan, he knew they was going to get rid of Chrissy. That's what he thought, because it was the smartest move to make. That's why he gave Chrissy that super idol to save herself, to shake up stuff on her side. Because he was a smart enough player to know that the best move was getting rid of Chrissy. They didn't make the best move by getting rid of Katrina.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
I don't know, man. But anyway, that's what we got. That's what we're watching.
Yep.
So,
hey, man, it's great being on with you. It's always good to be on your show. Appreciate it.
oh, no problem, man. Hopefully this gets better and we can start enjoying it more. I'm hoping for the best, Coach. I'm hoping for the best.
Yep, me too. Let's hope it does.
All right, man. Well, appreciate you coming on in short notice, and have a safe trip in the mountains.
All right, my man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, later, Coach.
Become a patron and get more content and bonus episodes, including video commentary of every episode of Survivor Samoa, weekly episodes of Whining with Wine, and you can become a patron for as low as $5. $5 gets you Russell's Alliance, $10 and you become a game changer, $25 and you're a legend. Go to patreon.com/RussellHance.